Hello, fifth graders. We are finally ready to paint our crystals. You've drawn your painting on watercolor paper, and you have your watercolor, your bath, a sponge, your brush. All you need to do now is add a light source. So I'm going to make my light source be over here in this corner. From your light source, draw rays off so you know everywhere that these rays are touching, it's going to be light. Everywhere over here, opposite of the rays, it's going to be the darkest, because again, we're learning about shades and tints. So I have my watercolor palette. Now these have to be used with water. You need to be adding water to both of these things. They're not supposed to be painted on their own. The first thing I'm going to do is add a little water into my palette. Here my water's a little bit colored because I was doing something else with it a minute ago, but your water's going to be clear. Once I've added my water, I'm going to add just a drop of my color. Now I'm going to use my test sheet to see, do I like it that light? Do I want it lighter? If you want it lighter than that, you're gonna add another drop of water. And so let's say I like it like this. I'm gonna go ahead and use this color of water. What I want you to do is paint all the lightest parts first. All the parts that are touching the light first, because it's much easier to take a color and make it darker, and it's a lot harder to make it lighter. I'd say it's almost impossible with watercolors to make it lighter afterward. So as I move away from the light, I am getting darker. So notice this is behind this, so it's gonna be darker. To make it darker, I'm just gonna add another drop of color. Again, if you're not sure, test it out on your sheet. So as I move away, it's getting darker and darker. Moving away again, I'm gonna add some more. Down here at the bottom, it's gonna be the darkest, so. I'm gonna start to do this side now. And it's okay if you go outside the lines because we are going to cut these out afterward. I'm gonna make it darker still by adding more color. Notice I still haven't added any black. I'm just basically changing the tint of it by deciding how much white I'm letting go through this color. I am going to shade it, but it's just, that's gonna be at the very last. One more time, I'll make it a little bit darker. All right, now I'm ready to start shading it. So now I'm gonna take just a drop of black, add it to my color that I was already using, test it out. Feel pretty good about that. It's not the darkest shade I'm gonna use, but we're getting there. And now I'm gonna add an even darker shade by adding a little bit more black. I'm gonna do that on my farthest parts. Also down here, because it's behind this big crystal, there's gonna be a shadow there. And then I'm gonna add even more. If you start to run out of water, just get some more. And remember, you don't want it to be a straight black. It should be a shade, so it should be a blackish orange. Put this in the darkest parts. And you don't need to outline your crystals because you should have done that with the shades and the tints. So if at any point you feel like you need to add more somewhere, go ahead and add more. Use water to blend it. And when you are done, you're showing all the gradients, go ahead and put it in the drying rack. There we go. All right, 5th graders, you painted your crystal, it's dry. We are now going to cut it out and kind of put it in outer space. So the first thing you need to do is to cut out your crystal. Make sure you cut it on the lines, get it nice and close so that you don't see any white because it's gonna look cooler with the contrast of the black behind it. Okay, now that you have it cut out, we're gonna glue it down to our background. Make sure you glue it really, really well because a lot of them are coming off. The watercolor paper is stiffer, so you're gonna have to make sure you glue it really well or it's gonna pop off. My light source is coming from this side. You can see that the lightest parts are over here. So I'm not going to glue my crystal over here. I'm gonna glue my crystal over here so that I can add my light source over here. Glue it really well. It's okay if you go off the edge because you don't want that edge to pop off of your finished piece. Glue it down right here. Make sure the edges are nice and glued down. All right, now I'm gonna add stars and my light source. So I have a rose gold colored paint, a gold colored paint, and a silver paint. You can use one or all, but make sure you're doing a good job of rinsing between colors. I'm gonna make my moon in rose gold. So first of all, you can always draw your moon first with pencil. Decide, do you want a full moon, quarter moon, half moon? That way you can change the shape of it or size of it if you don't like it at first. If you just paint it, then you're stuck with what you have. All right, I'm gonna paint my moon, I'm gonna paint my stars, and we'll be right back. And I'm done. I have my Shades and Tints crystal. It's glued into my outer space paper. Make sure you have your name and your teacher code on the back. And I can't wait to see what they look like.